So self-insured does not make sense when somebody has typically anywhere, like I would say less than 50 employees, right? So if you're 50 or less employees, probably does not make sense just because um, there has to be enough premium in there to for it to make sense from a reinsurance perspective. And also, too, you want to be careful that you're setting the right, um, called spec deductible or self-insured deductible. And so, really, 50 is kind of the borderline to where, but basically, if you're 50 to 100, or I'd say 50 to 75, there's a really good chance that you should definitely consider looking at it. Every company's different based on the census, demographics, things like that. And then when you get to 75 to 100, you're again moving into that category of it looks like possibly you want to do your homework and you want to look at your census and your claims data and the age of your population and healthcare utilization and pharmacy utilization. Those are all the things that come into play to decide, like, yeah, does this make sense? Because what happens is that when you hit that 100 or more employees, the more you go over 100 all the way up to 1,000, it's just that spread of risk, right? So, and the when you're that 100 to 400 employee size, that's kind of the sweet spot where you should be self-insured, but a lot of companies are not self-insured. And the reason they're not self-insured is because of the amount of money that brokers are making off of them, right? So with obviously us being a broker, right? We make a percentage of the total, plus we make, right? So there's a percentage there, plus we make a percentage based on contingency, and we make a percentage based on which is the profitability of it, and then we make some money based upon the retention. And so most people are not aware of those three components, which can add up anywhere between 9 and 15% of your total premium. And so it can be very significant. And so for an insurance agency, when you're fully insured, you're taking a percentage of your total. Whereas when you're self-insured, we take a per employee per month fee, just a flat fee. And so that way, you know exactly what your fixed expenses are. You know exactly what your reinsurance fixed expense is. You know exactly what your deductible, self-insured deductible is as a company, right? So you'll understand what that is. And you also have an idea of what your max expense, worst case scenario is calculated for you. You know that going into it. And that's the thing where the insurance companies do the exact same thing, like your Blue Crosses of the world and they do that, and they realize that every one out of every 5 to 7 years, you're going to have a bad year, right? So you're going to have an off year. Unfortunately, it's the law of large numbers, right? It's just going to happen. But those other 5 to 6 years where you're doing quite well as a company, that claims liability that the insurance company is keeping because you're paying that in a monthly premium. You're taking that total divided by 12, whereas self-insured, you're going to fund it, right? You're going to fund basically 3 months at a time. And so as you fund those, if you don't have any big claims, you don't have to keep funding it. And that money stays in your account. So that claims liability, you control that, you get to keep it. And here's what's crazy is if you don't use that claims liability number by the end of the year, you get to keep it. And so it's the same thing the insurance companies do. And it's anywhere from 7 to 14%. And that's a conservatively low number. We just had a client. I'll give you a perfect example where I did the math for them because most people don't think about this, right? So we took their total premium. After all claims were paid, the insurance company made, and this is a company that has they have 150 enrolled employees, 200 employees, but 150 enrolled. The insurance company made in 1 year $730,000 after claims were paid. And I asked this client, I said, now, I was just curious, did you get any of that? Did you get, a dividend back on that $730? And that's for 1 year. And so when you go back a couple of years, I've done it for other people as well. I mean, it's amazing how much money. And so that's where this middle market, right, especially in that 75 to 300, need to heavily consider moving into that self-insured space because you never know how much money you're leaving on the table, and insurance companies have enough money. So why continue to give it to them?